Today, I take you on a little rundown of my entire video game vinyl soundtrack collection. Hope you guys enjoy it, and let's take a look, shall we? Alright, let's not waste any time and get right into the collection. Alright folks, here we are in front of my vinyl collection here in my apartment. Now, just to make this perfectly clear, this entire shelf space is not all video game vinyls. That is all reserved for these two corridors or cabinets right here. Everything else on this one side is probably either anime, electronic, classic rock, or whatever else I've got laying around just stacked in these two corners right here. This again, all video games. Also, I'm not going to really go through this in any particular order. Some of it might be a little unorganized based on the company that released it or something like that. I more or less think I have everything organized somewhat by brands like Mondo and Data Discs and Fangamer or something like that. If there's also a limited release by Limited Run or some other company or some variant, I can't organize all of it. Like, I have to kind of draw a line somewhere. But with that in mind, let's just go ahead and get right into this. I'm not going to pull litter. I'm going to try and pull everything off of the shelf, but I'm not going to like go in through every single one of them and go in depth with them. I'll just simply fire off whichever ones I have something to say about. Anyways, enough chattering. Let's get right to it. Starting with Luminous Remastered. The Mighty Switch Force Collection. I actually just got this in and it sounds incredible, I must say. Jade Kaufman is a genius of a composer. The Tomb Raider Suite, I actually got this as a Kickstarter. It's a orchestral remake of the original Tomb Raider soundtrack. I even got it signed by the original composer, Nathan McCree. Great work. Castlevania The Adventure Rebirth. Rebirth, and this is actually my second copy of it after the first one got damaged in shipping. Thankfully, Debug Records was kind enough to send me a replacement. Castlevania Symphony of Night, classic. Castlevania Rondo of Blood, also a classic. Valhalla, great cyberpunk soundtrack. Stardew Valley, this is actually the Gamers Edition version of it. I have the Fangamer Edition as well, but I'll get to my past self for that one. And of course I have to say the title like this, Windjammers! Sorry, I have to say it in that cheesy fashion. I love Windjammers. I think it's a fantastic game and the soundtrack is equally fun. The original Portal, Katamari Damacy, Silent Hill 2, Metal Gear Solid 1, can't wait, hopefully we get 2, 3, and 4 as well. No Man's Sky, one of my favorite video game soundtracks of all time, I absolutely love this beast. Samurai Showdown, I actually did an unboxing of this one not too long ago, it was great. Res Infinite. Oh, this soundtrack is gorgeous and a trip for every single senses, not just your ears. Seriously, if you've not played Res, play it and listen to this soundtrack by itself. It is absolutely incredible. Next up, Banjo-Kazooie, my first video game, and I was hunting down this vinyl for years, and I'm glad that I finally have it. Grant Kirkhope is also a genius of a composer, and this game means so much to me. I absolutely love Banjo-Kazooie. It will always hold a special place for me. Rocket League, the vinyl collection. Ratchet & Clank, also signed by the composer, and it was also marked by Mark Englund and Michael Bross. I actually got this while I was in I Am 8-Bit's actual store in Los Angeles. It's probably the only one of the few things I ever got vinyl-wise while I was living in Los Angeles. The Johto Leagues, music for Pokemon Silver and Gold. Just make sure I got this out of the way, and just to make this clear, this is not an official soundtrack release of Johto Gold and Silver on vinyl. This is more or less a fan orchestration of Gold and Silver music, and I think it was actually done very, very well. Nier Gestalt, Nier Automata, Risk of Rain 1, I actually just ordered the vinyl set for Risk of Rain 2, I can't wait for that to come out. Another World, or Out of This World if you live here in the States. Thomas Was Alone. Hugh. The original Shantae. Kingdom. Nex Machina. Shadow of the Colossus, an absolute classic of a score. If you have not listened to this one, I highly recommend it. Journey, probably one of the only picture discs I own in my entire collection, but that's because of the sole reason that I absolutely love Journey. However, I Am 8-Bit, seriously, make a re-release of this and put it on something that isn't a picture disc. Seriously, it deserves better sound quality than that. Why the heck is Elfin Lied in my video game collection? That shouldn't be there. Sorry. Had to put it next to Demon City Shinjuku. Anyways, moving on. River City Girls. Sonic Mania, the Japanese edition. Absolutely fantastic score, but you already know my love of Sonic. I don't need to say anymore. Sonic Mania. I will admit, while I do like this release, I admit it's a little bit disappointing in my books. I wish they had done a complete version of the soundtrack of this thing. It might have been a licensing issue. I don't know. It's something along those lines. If I had to suspect something. Still a great soundtrack to own, by the way, but honestly, I felt like this is a half-baked soundtrack at best, just because of how it doesn't include most of the really good music other than what T. Lopes himself composes. Now, granted, T. Lopes is nothing to sneeze at. He's a great composer. I just think that they could have added more onto this one. I would have happily paid double the price if it included all the music. Two of my newest additions of my collection, Alien Soldier and Alien Storm. Radiant Silvergun, Police Knots, Space Harrier, Afterburner 2, Streets of Rage 3, don't have 2 and 1 yet, but I'm working on it, Metal Slug, Ultra Beast, Outrun, the perfect driving soundtrack, I don't care what anyone else says, Shenmue, and finally, Okami, the crown jewel of the collection. I had to end this one. I at least had to end this one on Okami. It is a fantastic score. Absolutely worth a place in anyone's vinyl collection. This is probably the most collectible one I have in my collection. With I think it's the Clears white pink splatter vinyl. Just the fact that it's kind of like a cherry blossom-ish theme of it. I absolutely think it's an incredible soundtrack and well worth a place in anyone's collection. So yeah, that's all the vinyls that I have in this collection right now, so I'm going to cut it to my past self, where he's going to take over and show you the rest of it at home.
Thanks, future me. Now, as you guys can see, I am actually back at my family's house where some of my vinyl collection is still residing. I'm going to go through these as fast as I can because, again, as my future self stated, I'm not going to exactly go through every one of these records in detail, otherwise this video would be extremely long. So, with that in mind, let's go ahead and get through this, and I'm not going to go through any of these vinyls in alphabetical order because, frankly, I don't even know how I would, frankly, organize them because of different brands, labels, and yada yada. Just making sure I get that out of the way right now, so let's go ahead and dive into the rest of the vinyl collection, starting with Iconoclast Edition, Iconoclast Special Choice. This one, I think I got this one from Limited Run Games. This took forever to come out, but the soundtrack is also really good. So yeah, Iconoclast, the original soundtrack to Gris, fantastic melodies, and I must admit the artwork for this one is awesome. I'm gonna probably do a separate shot of this one just to kind of give you a full view of the gatefold. Just take a moment and probably cut away now. Oddworld Stranger's Laugh, Limited Edition Volume 1. Don't know when the heck Volume 2 is gonna come out, but hopefully it will be someday soon when, frankly, well, we still have Gravity. Cosmic Star Heroine, also very underrated soundtrack, and pretty good game as well. Just had a chance to play this one recently. Very, very fun play. Sonic Adventure 1, I mean, come on, you know my taste. You know I love Sonic. You know I was going to have this in my collection. And, of course, Sonic Adventure 2, because, duh, of course I would have this one along with it. I honestly opted to go for the single releases of it because I wasn't really too fond of the whole dual pack thing, and I'd rather just have the artwork in full for each release. So yeah, love this soundtrack a lot. I think I might actually like this more than Adventure 1, but that's just my opinion. Ironically enough, a soundtrack called Volume, or the original game soundtrack to Volume. Yeah, the original one. I don't know if there's a sequel to Volume. I think there might be. I could be mistaken. I'm just not 100% sure. Next up is the original soundtrack to Hover. I think my favorite song on this one, as easy it is to say, is Hideki Naganuma. Hideki Naganuma's song Heaven Up. Like, if you have not listened to this soundtrack, if you're a fan of Jet Set Radio, take a listen to this bad boy, because this is a really good soundtrack. And of course, next up we have the Ninja Gaiden trilogy from Braveway. This includes releases from Ninja Gaiden 1, 2, and 3 from the NES in full. If I remember this correctly, it's supposed to give me the ones from both the NES and the Famicom versions, because I think there were slight differences in both versions. So yeah, the Ninja Gaiden trilogy on vinyl. Look, I mean seriously, look at this amazing artwork. That is That is beautiful right there. I almost want a print of this by itself on my wall. Next up is my second copy of Stardew Valley. This one is actually the Fan Gamers edition. Just to put this in perspective, this one actually comes on 4 different vinyls instead of just the one from Gamers Edition. And honestly, I think this is probably the superior box set version or version of Stardew Valley on vinyl. Just because, 1, the artwork is better, and 2, it's a more complete version and having more vinyls on them to do a complete soundtrack rendition. So yeah, if you're going to pick up Stardew Valley by any chance, pick up this version on Fangamer. I'll post a link for all these different vinyls and where I found them or the respective shops for them in the description below, as I mentioned earlier. Next up we have Deus Ex Human Revolution. Now, I recently picked up another soundtrack, or ordered another soundtrack, of the original Deus Ex done by a fan, and just sort of a fan remix album of the original Deus Ex, and it's a fantastic soundtrack, but Human Revolution by itself, really, really good. I know this is not a video game soundtrack, but I didn't know whenever I was going to get a chance to show this one, but this is Sins of Hyrule by Rosen. This is actually the first fan-made vinyl that I ever really picked up from a remix artist, but Rosen. And Rosen, in my opinion, is a fantastic artist or a fantastic musician. I really want to essentially own a copy of basically everything that Rosen has done. And I think Sins of Hyrule, and I really want to think its next one is Ballad of Hyrule, as well as Glory to Mankind. Those are the ones I really want to pick up. But this one, Sins of Hyrule, if you have not listened to this one, go listen to it on Bandcamp. It is a fantastic song, or a fantastic bit. I think my favorite one is honestly the Ancient Battle, which is the first track on this thing, but honestly, if you just keep digging through this album, it is well worth the listen to no matter what track it is. Now this one's a little bit of an oddball. It is the 20th anniversary arrangement soundtrack for Panzer Dragoon Azel, and then Panzer Dragoon Saga. So yeah, it's a very weird one because I wasn't sure if well, is this an original soundtrack, an arrangement, or an orchestral rendition? But I figured why not just put it in here anyways. I got a chance to listen to this very early on when I started collecting video game vinyls, and this thing blew me away. Just listening to it in full, you will not regret it. Just take some time to listen to this score. It is fantastic, well done. It makes me wish there was a remake of Panzer Dragoon Saga, or at least a remastering of it, and put this soundtrack on that game, because this is well worth it. Next up, we have The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. And of course, because I have to have everything Datadisc owns in some fashion or another, even though I don't have everything, I'm working on it, Thunder Force 4. This soundtrack. You know what? Instead of just trying to sing its praises, I'll put a link below in the description for the soundtrack, so that way you can listen to it for yourself, because I don't think my words could do this thing justice. I'll just leave it at that. So yeah, I think that's all the video game vinyl soundtracks that I have in my collection, at least here in my family's house. So I'm going to cut back to my future self, and I'm going to let him take over the rest of the video and end it for you guys. I'll see you guys later.
Thank you, Past Me. Well, there you go, folks. That is my video game vinyl collection in its entirety. I hope you guys enjoyed this little rundown. I know there's some soundtracks I really want to add into this collection. I think it's a lot of fun to collect this sort of thing. And just to let you guys know, if you want me to do another video or a follow-up to this following, let's say, my movie collection or my anime collection in terms of vinyl soundtracks, or if you want to know what is in my actual anime collection or so on, please let me know in the comments below, and on someday I'll be able to get to that video. The vinyl ones I probably have more readily available, and that will make this thing easier. I do have some back at home, so I'll have to see if I can have those shipped over here, and those will have to become at a later date. But until then, I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you want to see me do more videos like this, just leave a comment below. Hope to see you guys next time, and until then, take care.